Dr. Souad Slaoui is an associate professor in linguistics and gender studies at Sidi Mohammed bin Abdullah University in Fes, Morocco. She is the coordinator of the exchange and cooperation agreement among members of the Gender and Women's Studies across cultures, and she is a founding member of, I don't want to say it, ISIS, but ISIS stands for
Women and Development.
Yeah, Women and Development Studies Center in Fes, in Morocco, and she's a founding member of the Union of Feminine Associations in Morocco. Please, Dr. Souad.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. I would like first to warmly thank the organizers for such interesting event, which is successful at all levels. And today I'm going to provide a sociological perspective on Moroccan women's family laws and the impact on women with regard to marriage and divorce, with special focus on early marriage in Morocco. I will start first by what Leila ended up with yesterday. She said that Moroccan women are on the right path, but the journey is still not yet over. The family law is good, but it is not yet implemented, but it still needs some time for this. So I will start first by talking very briefly about the evolution of the personal code status from the first version of 1958 through the second one, 1993, to the final one, 2004, highlighting the role of women's associations in networking with other NGOs, such as human rights NGOs, as well as the states and grassroots, to secure the reforms and make women aware of their rights. I then move on to talk about the findings of the project ISIS conducted as far as early marriage in Morocco is concerned, and end up with a number of recommendations to overcome the obstacles encountered for the implementation of the new family law in Morocco, especially as regards Article 20 of the new Mudwana. So the Code of Personal Status of 1957-1958 was essentially a reiteration of the Maliki family law left in place during the French colonization. It was first formulated as a set of royal decrees released between 1957 and 1958 in unifying under one set of family laws the many ethnic and the tribal groups in Morocco, a point already mentioned in the previous presentation. The Mudwana was also codified the subordinate status of women. This was in sharp contrast with the 1956 Code of Personal Status in Tunisia. A woman under this personal code status could not be married without the consent and signature of her wali or matrimonial guardian. She might legally be married at the age of 15, where her male counterpart could legally be married at the age of 18. She could not be employed or obtain a passport without the permission of her male guardian. Moreover, women could lose custody of their children if they remarried and could be divorced unilaterally and without justification or judicial oversight. Minor revisions were made to the Mudawwana by the royal decree in 1993, but the spirit of the law remained essentially intact. An interesting event later on took place, manifested in the so-called action plan, which in 1992 which entertained both national and international publicity and which was supported by both the leftists but was resisted by the Islamists. Sadiq in 2004 notes in this connection that this friction between the camps forced the interference of the King Hassan II to amend the family law for the first time. The amendments did not introduce any significant changes that surrounded the family law, but was still a major breakthrough for feminist movements. In January 2004, the new family code was announced in the official bulletin, and this new family code was based on two references: the Sharia, the Muslim law, and the international law agreements, and it's designed around three axes: equality between spouses, 2, family equilibrium, and 3, the protection of children. As to the first item, equality between spouses, the legal age of marriage is fixed at 18 for both sexes. Both spouses are legally heads of the family. Spouses have equal rights and duties. Women who are over 18 do not need a tutor before contracting marriage. Severe constraints are put on polygamy, rendering it almost impossible. Repudiations and divorce are in the hand of the judge. Girls and boys of divorced parents have the right to choose the parents to live with at the age of 15. Grandchildren from the daughter inherit the same as those from the son. And accumulated benefits gathered during the marriage and are to be shared about the spouses in the case of marriage. Accumulated benefits gathered during marriage are to be shared among spouses in the case of marriage. The new family code also concerned itself with the family equilibrium, hence the following amendments are introduced. The public ministry automatically intervenes in any application of the family law, the establishment of family courts. Next, reinforcement of means of reconciliation through the family, the creation of a fund for family assistance, and that recognition of marriage contracted abroad according to the legislation of host countries. As to the protection of children's rights, the right of mother's tutorship, guardians is not lifted if the divorced mother remarries, if her residence is far from that of the father. So the social status of the child is taken into account. Also, the recognition of paternity upon witnesses when the child is concerned during the courtship that is before marriage and is formalized as a contract. Unlike the old family code, which was mainly revised by male ulama, religious leaders, the new family code was revised by a committee composed of both males and female judges, lawyers, legislators, and academics, such as Aisha al-Hajjami, Malika bin Radi, Khamlishi, Raja al-Naji, Mkawi, Nizhak Sus, among many others. So having provided you with this brief overview of the evolution of the personal status code from the 1957 through the old Mudawwana 1993 up to the new family code, and the main contribution of Moroccan women's movements that the Moroccan women have made in order to raise women's awareness of their rights, I will move on now to discuss an interesting question concerning the item of the legal age of marriage that is fixed legally at the age of 18 years for both sexes, and to how this phenomenon can be used as evidence for the non-implementation of the new family law in Morocco, with an eye to explain the Moroccan selective mentality in balancing between the law and the religious practices, and how these religious practices can affect negatively the life of women. In this presentation, I will merely focus, as I said at the beginning, on early marriage, based on field work carried out during the period of January 2011 and 2012 by the ISIS Center, of which I am a founding member, in various urban and rural areas in Fez, like Sefro, Midelt, Rabat, Casablanca, Tétouan, and the surroundings of Tétouan. So early marriage as a social phenomenon can be defined as the engagement of the girl in marital relationship in a time in which she is not in a position to assume the responsibility of a wife or of a mother. A number of variables interact in trying to explain the presence of this social behavior. These variables are of different nature. Some of them are cultural, religious, and social. Early marriage is a real phenomenon in Morocco, backed by tradition and the extreme Islamist interpretation of the sacred text. This is a topic that women's and feminist NGOs, as well as other democratic instances, have discussed. The phenomenon of early marriage can be explained in terms of the ignorance of the laws and the high rates of illiteracy among Moroccan population, which can be considered among the factors that explain the existence of this phenomenon in Morocco. The majority of tutors who permit the underage marriage of their daughters in an illegal age are totally ignorant of the article that regulates the marital life. Added to this, the ignorance of the negative effects that a young girl married at an early age can face up. For example, according to the Ministry of Justice, the number of underage marriages rose from 3,000 to 34,000 between 2009 and 2011, and it is recorded as 34,166 in the 2012 statistics. With Vital Voices as a global network and with other local partner organizations such as National Union of Women's Organization, South North Center, ISIS Center collected data concerning research on the key skateboarders such as judges, lawyers, families and youth associations, and launched media campaigns to inform the public about the importance of this issue and the need for change. In October 2011, the team collected data on forced marriage and early marriages and began to identify and reach out affected families or individuals. We specifically focused on rural schools and marginalized districts, including rural areas surrounding Fez, where early marriage is still a common practice. Through the research, the team learned that there is a significant social pressure for girls in rural areas to be married as early as possible, and they often face complete economic marginalization if they are not married. We also found that the problem of early marriage exists still in urban districts as well as in rural areas. The team also sought to raise awareness among the general public, especially with girls and families, on the danger of early marriage, such as dropping out of school, psychological problems, lack of self-confidence, etc. The team published 4 articles speaking about the harm caused by early marriage and the importance of protecting children from facing the devastating circumstances. We have articles published by Fatima Sadiki and Mohannaji and other members of the team, published in Hess Press in 2012. We organized a workshop entitled The Family Code and Underage Marriage of Girls in December 2011 in Martil, in the north of Morocco, where the theme discussed centered around criticism of the Mudawwana and resulted in both cancers on the negative effects of underage marriage and a concrete list of recommendations which was made, in which it was stated that the state, society and families could implement better this recommendation in order to protect the girl's honor and dignity. A second workshop was held in January 28, 2012 in Fez, entitled The Application of the Family Code and Early Marriage. The policy advocate team explained the harms of early marriage, while jurists and Islamic scholars discussed the original intent of the Mudawwana and the reasons why some people believe that Islam authorized early marriage. Workshop participants who discussed the cultural specificities, customs and tradition in the Middle Atlas region, as well as the financial constraints that often led families to pressure their daughters into the early marriage. The team again compiled a list of recommendations to present to the Parliament and at a later date. Another workshop was held on April 7 in 2012 at the headquarters of the ML Association in Midelt, a small city outside of Fez, to discuss the consequences of child marriage in small communities. The workshop, which targeted women and NGOs, focused on the implementation of the Mudawwana and underage. More than 100 people attended, including leaders from local NGOs like Midelt Association for Development and Teachers Local Association, and journalists from local newspapers, in addition to coverage of the association on websites and blogs. On April 17, 2012, a final workshop in Sefou, it's a small village city next to Fez also. The workshop was entitled The Application of the Family Law and How to Combat Child Marriage, sought to engage women's NGOs. So more than 40 representatives from various NGOs attended, including participants from Sefrou Association of Women and Development, the Tawadda Cultural Association for Development and Women's and other women, and also students attended this meeting and contributed with their debates on topics related to domestic violence, rape, forced marriage, divorce and suicide as a consequence of child marriage. At the workshop, the team made plans to organize an international conference in May 2012 on themes related to policy advocates campaign. We also made plans to lobby for the reform of the Mudawwana and the Penal Code. In light of the Amina Filali's suicide, the workshop convinced many attendees for the urgency and seriousness of child marriage and the need to contact members of the Parliament to reform the relevant laws. The team at the end of the workshop sought to influence the newly elected Parliament using principles set forth in Morocco's July 2011 Constitution. We next identified members of the Parliament and other political leaders who supported our campaign and provided them with specific recommendations, asking for the Mudawwana and the Penal Code to be amended, the Penal Code number 475. And also asking for the revocation of the Article 20. A recently elected member of the Parliament to agree to take the workshop recommendation to the Parliament. An international conference was a culminating event of all those workshops, was organized under the title of Underage Marriage a socio-cultural and legal perspective. At this conference, experts in national education, lawyers, judges and civil society actors discussed 10 topics: the marriage of minors, violence against women, a strategic review of family law, barriers to implementation of the new family law, the causes and consequences of the child marriage, the role of the judge and lawyers in the application of the family law, the role of media and education to inform and sensitize public opinion, and the role of women and youth organizations. Yes. More advocacy campaigns are indeed still needed to pursue relevant advocacy issues and activities, especially, for example, in the south of Morocco, as a lawyer mentioned yesterday when she talks about the region of Agadir and the south in general. It is also worth stressing the fact that the findings of this fieldwork emphasize the idea that it is the lack of awareness of the new family code and the over-dominance of cultural norms over the laws which are behind the practice of early marriage in Morocco, which is actually still increasing, as the statistics show. The patriarchal system underlying the rigid mentality of the Moroccan society is the driving force behind this harmful social behavior. And Azur, the fourth report published in May 2012, says that 99.2% of requests for underage marriage were authorized by the judge. Such practices largely affect those young married girls' lives negatively. And at the end of this presentation, I suggest a number of recommendations in order to overcome the situation. Number one, I emphasize on the necessity to generalize both formal and informal education to all Moroccans. Second, the urgent necessity to make young generation read carefully the Quran and Islamic texts and the new family code to know about them. To involve young generations in legislative changes to ensure the implementation of the law. And I would reiterate my appreciation of meeting young male judges in this conference, which gives a great hope for us women in Morocco. Taking firm and decisive punishments to all those who do not abide by the law. Finally, men can take the specific section in partnership with women to transform unequal gender relation in families, communities and social institutions. And the last point is the necessity of openness of academic research using sociological approach on such issues as early marriage, as this helped the government to find out solutions to diminish the negative effects. And we should not forget to engage the high-level government leaders to champion the advocacy campaign. And thank you very much for your attention.